Wet.
Gear, gear, gear. Was gear. Woo! Oh my goodness. Woo! The Tascam Model 2400 interface recorder and mixer.
Box in a box.
This thing is not too bad. Size-wise, this is not very big. Like it's like half the size of the 388. I thought this was gonna be a lot bigger. This is totally not unwieldy. It lights up. The Tascam Model 2400 sort of harkens to the Tascam 388. If you're new to this channel, the Tascam 388 is like a cult classic tape recorder, 8-channel. The Model 2400 shares a lot of things in common with it because you can record right to it. It has everything you need in the box, but it also has other cool features like built-in compressor, master bus compressor, tons of routing options. You got phantom power. While it doesn't record to tape, it has other things that could be really interesting to your workflow. So what's kind of interesting about this is that I like randomly sold my Focusrite interface that I'd had forever because I was worried about it becoming obsolete. And I have another old interface that I could use with an old computer, so I was just gonna do that. And then this thing came out and I was like, oh, this is really interesting. The Model 2400 is an interface, but it's an interface with like EQ and compression, and that can solve a lot of headaches. So if you don't like buying a bunch of outboard gear and you just want something that has, you know, an analog mixer, analog EQ, analog compressor, and you want parity between all your different channels, this might be a nice solution. Sorry, my gear is all over the studio, but the Model 2400 can also be paired with a tape recorder. So if you have like a Tascam 38, this thing, I'm pretty sure, can act as a mixer for it. And it's like great because these old Tascam mixing boards did not have phantom power. It has all the stuff built into it, effects also. That could be a really neat option if you have an old tape machine and you're looking for a mixing board. This thing, it solves a lot of issues. I read the entire manual before I even got this thing. Tascam manuals are like a work of art. They really are well put together, and they have been for like 40 years. They make like small improvements, like on this Tascam 388, to switch between the different modes depending on if you're recording or playing back, you'd have to remember to adjust these switches here, and that's done automatically on the Model 2400. There's been some updates in the past 40 years of recording. So I already got some drums set up for my drum situation that I already have going, so I'm just gonna follow that and plug that right into the Model 2400. I was able to immediately get a signal, didn't need any software, just plugged in, sounded good. Can't get sound out right now through it as an interface mode. Needs to solve that. Now I'm gonna try to fiddle some knobs and see how that sounds. So a little bit of a learning curve. What you're gonna hear right now is what the compressor does. So there's no like makeup gain. The compressor just is a 3-to-1 ratio. I know this because I talked to Tascam about it. And as you apply it, you know, the volume is gonna get lower and lower, so you have to adjust your faders after that. Check out these different samples. My first shot at using the Tascam 2400. Okay, so I tuned up the drums a bit and got a sound that I can live with. And to just show you what I did here on the kick, the compression is about there. I did this because it's just more extreme. It's got a pop to it, and I wasn't really happy anywhere else. I wanted to just, I'd rather get an extreme sound than a subtle sound. And then what I'm doing is I'm dipping some 120 on there. On the snare, I'm dipping around, I don't know, somewhere between 800 and 6K, boosting some highs, and then I lowered some of the lows on the toms. Then you can see the you know, amount of using not too much compression on the toms, Not too much on the snare, but I really liked what this, it's just a really kind of snappy sound. A snappy sound. Tascam was really helpful in answering my questions, but it was throw and go. I didn't install any software. I just plugged it in and it started working, and I had like 1 or 2 troubleshooting issues, but that's gonna happen with any piece of gear. It has a click built in. It has a Bluetooth thing built in. It has busing, it has effects. Like it does what an interface does, but other shit too. If you just want to have a bunch of stuff set up all the time, this thing is pretty convenient for that. Broken into 4 channels at a time. So like I could set up channels 5, 6, 7, 8 to have phantom power with a push of a button. And then you could have like 4, 4, 4, 4. You can divide up phantom power on and off like that. Inserts on like every single channel. So if you have some outboard gear, you could like just set it up and have it plugged in. The only thing this thing is missing that would make it look cooler, analog, VU meters. Like, look how cool these things look. You should just attach one. You should just like go find one at a garage sale and just add it there. They do have like a digital meter bridge that you can put on an iPad. We have the Audio-Technica AT4040 plugged in here, and it's going into this little band of channels, and all I gotta do is turn on phantom power. I like having the plugs right on top. I don't have to go fishing around the back. I find it convenient with my current setup. You can just sort of patch right on the board. Right meow, I want to take my Warm Audio WA MPX because I love this thing on bass. I can use an outboard preamp with the 2400, so I'm going to use this channel and I'm just going to plug my bass into the WA MPX and then go into this insert right here. Pretty simple. Let's do that. First impressions, the Tascam Model 2400 is whatever you want it to be. It is an interface, it is a mixer, it is a recorder, and it has lots of patching and routing options. So as you saw, I was able to use an external preamp to get the bass tone that I wanted, and I was able to use all kinds of different microphones, and I think that it's a pretty valuable instrument. There's all kinds of effects on there too, which we didn't even get into, so there's a lot of things that you can do with this machine. A lot of other interfaces cost similarly, but you don't get all the things that you get in this Model 2400. So I think it's a really cool thing. I'm looking forward to using it more in the studio.